All right, so I'm going to start with some definitions, and you guys probably don't need to hear the first one, but I think it's good to contextualize this. And when we're talking about product development, what are some of the differences in some of these terms that you're used to? So we've mentioned crowdsourcing already. What I'm going to really talk about today, I know a lot of you are probably familiar with crowdsourcing, but I think in product development and innovation, social media can really go beyond what crowdsourcing is. So if we look at social media as a platform or application that uses just any kind of social model to enable communities and enable people within those communities to share user-generated content, that's really kind of expands our definition a little bit into things that maybe go a little bit beyond some of the big, wide social networks that we're all used to. So this could be anything from a custom-built portal or platform that a company might use for something like crowdsourcing, or it could be any host of applications that are built now specifically for product development communities, and even sit on top of some of the software programs that engineers and product developers use every day. So we're expanding our definition a little bit. And going a little further, there's a couple terms you'll hear us use today as we all talk. Social product innovation, so that's the practice of leveraging these social media models, specifically in the innovation and product development processes themselves. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then the third one is open innovation. This is actually a term that was cloned by a man named Henry Chesbrough in 2003. He has a book of the same title. If you haven't read it, it's a great book. But this is basically any technology or development model that extends beyond the boundaries of a firm to help involve other people that are outside of the firm in a collaborative way. So these concepts really work together, and we'll really contextualize what we're going to talk about today. So this first bit of information is from some research that my company Calypso did. Every year we do a survey of about 200 product development and manufacturing firms. We ask them how they're using social media and other social models and tools to inform innovation and product development. And these are some of the benefits that they've told us that they get. And this is how we know that it's actually important. So we had 50% of them tell us that they get more product ideas or requirements. So the funnel at the beginning of their product development cycle is bigger. They've got more ideas coming into that funnel. 44% told us that they're having better relationship building and they're able to engage and collaborate better externally. So maybe with their customers, maybe with their partners and suppliers. 33% told us that they were doing better relationship building internally. So we take that to mean within different product development teams in a company, maybe it's global, maybe they've got offices all over the place. So they're able to collaborate better using social tools. And then 33% also told us they actually got better product or ideas or requirements out of using social media in product development. So what I want to do is take a little bit of a high-level look at a typical product development process. There's three main buckets, and you see them kind of across the middle in any company's basic product development process. It goes from the front end of innovation through the actual product development cycle, where they're actually doing the work of engineering and designing products, to the in-market cycle, where you're actually looking at how long your product is in market, what's the feedback that it's getting, those kinds of things. So social tools really apply to all three of these areas. In the front end of innovation, they're obviously involved in getting more of those product ideas, getting those better product ideas, and also for letting people help you to figure out which are those better ideas, letting them vote, things like that. In product development, it's actually used by internal product development teams to help them collaborate. It also helps them identify different experts inside their company that they might reach out to for help with a particular problem. And it also helps them gather and manage knowledge within their company. So they can find knowledge easier when it's shared on more of a social platform. And then finally, for in-market, clearly social media has a big place in helping us launch products to market, but it also can help us with sentiment analysis of not only your brand, which we've talked about today, but of a particular product that's in market. How are people using it? Is there a problem with it? And social media is being used more and more in places you might not expect, like customer service and other areas where companies are trying to gather feedback from their customers so that they can then make the next new product. So that's a really basic product development cycle and the different places that social media can be used throughout that. So again, more than crowdsourcing, which tends to be kind of in that front end, it also goes throughout the product development cycle. So the thing about product development is that it's something that companies have always traditionally held really close to the vest. It's something they consider almost proprietary. They patent their products. They consider them very private. So it's a little bit hard to get them to realize that this is something that they need to be doing. Traditionally in a company, the engineers and the product developers and the product marketers are the ones who are really responsible for coming up with the next big idea and for interpreting what the customers are telling them into what the new product's features need to be. So with the explosion of social media, I think a lot of these companies have realized that not all the smart people in the world can possibly work for them. So they're using these social media tools to reach out to these different communities of people that exist elsewhere in the world. Maybe they're retired, maybe they are currently unemployed, maybe they work in a different industry, and taking advantage of their techniques and their skills and their knowledge at different places in the development cycle that we saw previously. And there's two main ways they're doing this, and the real difference between Web 2.0 and E2.0 in the product development example is that Web 2.0 is a very public open network. It would be, for example, going out to the world and asking them a question or giving them a challenge or crowdsourcing an idea, where E2.0 is more of a secure collaboration portal where you define who you want to be part of your community and you work specifically with them. So that could either be an internal teaming and collaboration tool, it could be with your partners or suppliers, or it could be with a very specific group of customers or clients. So here are some examples. Procter & Gamble has a great site they've had for almost 10 years now called Connect and Develop. It was one of the very first crowdsourcing sites that was out there. And this is actually where the Swiffer Sweeper came from. That was a customer submitted idea. So the Web 2.0 types of technologies work really well when a company is marketing their products or their customers or people just like you and me, people who are out there in the world and would like to give feedback. So Procter & Gamble, great example. Domino's has a new site on Facebook called ThinkOven where they actually go out to their Facebook fans and their community of Facebook fans and they ask them for help. So things like helping them crowdsource the new Domino's uniforms or submitting their ideas for new products. And even on here you can see there's a link to Domino's customer care. So when we talk about E2.0, so more of those secured groups to a specific community of people, a great example of that is Madison Electric Products, and they make electrical components that are and hardware and equipment that basically go into large buildings like this one. And their main way of distributing their products is through a community of contractors. So they built a Sparks Innovation site when they invited just their contractors exclusively who are out there every day using their products to submit their ideas for new products. So a very exclusive community to people who definitely know a lot about their products and will probably give them better ideas and feedback than if they just went to the world in general asking them this question. CDC Software, I wish I could give you a picture of what they're doing, but their whole site is actually an internal site. They are a global company. They're a software company, obviously. They have software development offices in 14 different countries. So they had this huge problem where they were trying to align the operations of all these disparate product development groups across many countries. So they use, I think it's a combination of SharePoint cloud technologies plus some social stuff built on top and a bunch of customization to help all these people work better together. And they, through that, were able to decrease their time to create a new product from 24 months to 16 weeks. So just having that little bit of collaboration and socialness built into what they're doing had a huge impact on their software development process. So a little more from our research. These are the top 4 challenges that the people that we asked told us they had when they were applying social media to product development. Number 1 is lack of resources, talent, or time. There's a huge question out there and a huge problem because this is such a new space. People don't know who owns it. So is it product development that owns this? Is it product marketing? It's probably not pure marketing people, even though they definitely know a lot about it. So who owns this? It's a huge problem right now. A lot of companies, 44%, not sure which approaches work. Because we're so early on, there aren't really any best practices for people to follow. 34% told us it was difficult to sort and filter their information. What we really think this comes from is from people potentially jumping on the crowdsourcing bandwagon, putting a challenge or a question out there, and getting thousands of responses back, and then not having the time or the resources to sort through those and figure out which ones actually resulted in good ideas. And then 31% told us that they couldn't get enough participation from their communities. And community building, as we've heard quite a bit of today, is a huge issue. It's something that really needs to be paid attention to. And it's something that I think if product development people worked a little bit more with marketing people who are doing this all the time, it would be really helpful. The trend, though, is growth despite these challenges. So when we asked people if they were going to continue their use of social media for product development, 35% told us they were going to increase it significantly. 60% told us they were going to increase it somewhat. 6% told us they were going to keep it about the same, and nobody told us they were going to decrease it. So this is definitely something that's growing and trending. And finally, the last piece of information that I thought was really interesting when we redid our survey at the end of 2011, we asked people what they were doing as far as a social strategy. Did they have a strategy for implementing social media in product development and innovation? And you can see towards the right side of the screen, a lot of those people who were considering a plan, didn't have a plan, or didn't know. Those all kind of stayed the same year over year. The biggest change was in the first two. So the first year, more people told us that they had a plan in place. The second year, that dropped dramatically, and more people told us they were developing a plan. So this told us that people were taking a step back, that maybe they had tried some things, they had failed, they had seen some of those challenges, and now they were realizing that you can't just go out there and try some of these things without having any sort of strategy in place. So we took this to say people are stepping back, they're building a strategy, they're aligning it with an overall business strategy, and they're going to come out stronger next year. So that's it from me. Now you're going to hear from Gary, and I think later we're going to take questions. So.